Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the members of the Provo City Municipal Council, I greet you and express our gratitude for your presence. It's good to be with you as we convene this council meeting on Tuesday, the 19th of August. The time is 5:33. We are met in the City Council chamber, the Municipal Council chambers. The meeting is being broadcast live on Provo City Channel 17 and channel17.provo.org, where it will also be available for on-demand viewing. The council requests that those present help maintain the decorum of the meeting by turning off electronic devices, being respectful to the council and others. I invite Mr. Taylor to commence the roll call of those present.
Matt Taylor.
Brian Jones.
Kay Van Buren.
Gary Winterton.
Stephen Hales.
Al Miller.
Gary Garrett.
Dave Sewell.
Corey Norman. Wayne Parker.
I mentioned that Mayor Curtis asked to be excused. He's returning after a trip to Texas. And Corey Norman, Deputy Mayor, is here in his stead. Also, Ms. Kim Santiago, a member of the council, is out of the country. We hope that she will join us remotely in just a few minutes. We're pleased to welcome to tonight's meeting Harry McCord, who serves as the neighborhood chair in the Provo Bay neighborhood. Mr. McCord will offer the opening prayer and then lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, after which he will report briefly on the Provo Bay neighborhood. Mr. McCord.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful that we can come together and meet as a city in this city council meeting. We're grateful for the members of the city council and for the staff that sacrifice so much time and dedicate their efforts to the benefit of the city. We're also grateful for the members of the city who are here participating and also watching on TV. And we ask a special blessing on this meeting, that we might have Thy Spirit to be with us, that our minds and hearts might be opened, that we might listen, that we might be able to communicate effectively, those who speak and also those who hear our words, and that sound decisions and judgments might be made. Father, please bless as we're away from our families and friends often. Please bless and watch over them. Please bless and watch over the mayor as he's busy in his traveling. Again, we're grateful for all that we have, and we say these things in the name of Thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
If the audience would please stand and help me with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all. You may be seated. The council chair, Hal Miller, said I had about 30 minutes to address this meeting about neighborhood concerns. Actually, he said keep it to 5 minutes and emphasize the short, brief. Just a quick report on our neighborhood. I represent the Provo Bay neighborhood, so everything down along, it's south of Center Street, and it goes all the way down to the Utah Lake. I represent a neighborhood that has some of the last open space for development. So it's an important area to our city, and it's important that it's developed properly. Some of the biggest key issues that we've had is, one, I would say, is the West Side Connector. That's in the process of being put through to connect the airport to the interstate. And I would just like to mention that I still think there's got to be ways that the city can work with the landowners better. If you were to go meet with those landowners who had their property foreclosed on, they're not happy with the city. And it almost seems like, I know the city has to represent, the greater body of individuals that make up the city. But, it just seems like we go after these landowners with really low appraisals, force these landowners to pay attorneys. They're dealing with rollback taxes that they're told that they have to pay and come up with these, and then they hire lawyers, and that gets reconciled. But it's just not a smooth process. And I just wish that we could, when we're taking, we spend millions of dollars to a consulting firm to do environmental studies, and yet we try to go after the individuals that own that property, that have had that property in their families, oftentimes for generations. And we try to get it from them at the lowest possible price. And to me, that just isn't right or fair. We also have another connector that's coming due. We have the Northwest connector, or I think it's called the Lakeview connector, that's been planned, and when the city has money, will be implemented. That again will affect landowners, and I hope maybe the city can learn from the West Side connector and do a better job working with the landowners. I happen to be one of those landowners, and so that we can come to terms fairly. I spoke about development as a key issue, both with new homes. At one time, the city used to have development agreements when a developer would come, and it seems like the city's doing away with that. We're relying simply on zoning to enforce what's being built. So as a neighborhood, we feel like we have less tools to enforce what a builder's going to build in our neighborhood. And we're looking for a little bit more upscale and not so many starter homes. And not just to leave it up to what the current zoning laws allow, because that's oftentimes just bare minimum things that can be built in our neighborhood. And if we're going to leave it up to those zoning laws, then maybe we need to look at changing those and upgrading them. And the last point I'd like to make is we also are looking for commercial development. I know that the city has reached out to Smith's, that we have a large vacant piece of property down there, but it would be nice if we had a supermarket. I know at one time a bank, I think it was a credit union, was looking to come down there on Center Street. But from what I heard, the city put too many things, too many costs before the credit union, that they determined it wasn't affordable to build that facility in that location. And so they backed away. And I think many of the residents would have wished that during that time we would have worked with that credit union. We have a dollar store now, but I think we would have liked a credit union down there. That's my brief state on our neighborhood, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. McCord. Are there questions or comments?
Harry, I appreciate especially the ideas of condemnation. It really frustrates me also, the situation being a state road, and yet the city has to do the condemnation. And we don't get involved in the appraisals and those things. The city is not even allowed to be involved, and it really frustrates me that the lack of involvement that the city is actually allowed to have in that process. I appreciate your concern.
Thank you.
Mr. Sewell.
Along that same line, I haven't been involved in a condemnation proceeding yet, like Mr. Winterton, but my understanding is that that the property is supposed to be sold at fair market value. Is it your perception from talking to your neighbors that they're getting paid less than market value for?
I would say yes, and I to be honest, I haven't spoken to every neighbor,
Okay.
but those that I've spoken to, the city came out with an appraiser that was rock bottom. It was in the teens of thousands of dollars per acre. So the landowners, they often go get a second appraiser that oftentimes was really high, and I think they went through mediation, so it didn't go to court and met somewhere in the middle. But even some of these landowners that met in the middle, that solved it through mediation, hired landowners, or not landowners, but hired attorneys. They felt that was the only way that they had to be able to communicate with the city and get the city to listen to them was by hiring an attorney. And then, they're paying these attorney fees, thousands of dollars, and, like Councilmember Winterton said, there's just got to be, I know there's all the state and city, but somehow we've got to work together better.
Thank you for your thoughtful report and your good work as chair. I call for a motion to approve the council meeting minutes of July 15th and August 5th. Mr. Garrett, thank you. Is there a second? Mr. Van Buren, all in favor? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you and welcome, Ms. Santiago.
Thank you.
We invite Louise Jorgensen, who is the city's neighborhood coordinator, to make a presentation regarding an Eagle Scout project to improve the Franklin neighborhood target block.
Thank you, Council. It's fun to be up here with you. The neighborhood program always bears wonderful fruit, and this is one of those wonderful fruit, and that's the thing I've always loved about the neighborhood program, is to work with the people, and especially Eagle Scouts. It's an awesome thing. I'd like to invite Marley Tanner up and his scouts. Are you here? Hi, Marley. This is Marley Tanner. Do you want to introduce your other scouts with you? Sure. Come on up here. You can line right up here if you like. This is from the group. And we all hoping that Okay. Thank you, Marley. Thank you, all of you, for coming. I don't know where my pictures are. I had a bunch of slides of pictures on there. They're not on there? Okay. I don't know what happened to them. I really wanted you to see the improvement, so I'm a little frustrated here. But anyway, so what happened with this project? It was a 3-year project. It was a target area project, and it was with CDBG funds. Julie Beck started it, and it was to use matching grant funds also. So they had to paint your heart out. They were going to, they cleaned up the area, painted the homes. They installed some sprinklers in some of the yards, and by the time that was done, the whole thing lay dormant. We lost our dear Bob Allen, who was the neighborhood chair, and not much happened on the project. So in came Marley. Marley wanted to get his Eagle Scout. And so this was approved as an Eagle Scout project to do a Plant Your Heart Out, which would be the 3rd phase of the project, and to install the last sprinkler system. And Marley stepped up to the plate. He did the project all by himself with his mother's help. Linda's here. She's over there in the white. You can wave, Linda. And with his father's help. But I noticed that Marley was in charge. He filled out the grant. He's the one that called me all the time. He's the one that came in to see me. Linda was always by his side. But Marley, I was really impressed with Marley and his ability to lead this project. Well, what happened was his project was just to do the Plant Your Heart Out. So he did that, and he did a wonderful job. He spent 280 hours himself on that project, along with all the other volunteer hours. And I'll be giving a report in September on all the matching grants this year, and you'll hear all the statistics. But he did that, but his mom and him were out hand watering some of the plants at 2 homes. All the time to keep them alive, and this is really when it's hot. And so one day I was talking to them shortly after the project got done to Plant Your Heart, and they asked about the sprinklers. And I said, well, we've asked the neighborhood chair, and the neighborhood's not interested in doing the last part of the project, and it's getting those sprinklers in. I have a man hired to do it for a very low bid, but he did the low bid because people are supposed to help him dig the trenches and the holes and help put it in. So Marley stepped up to the plate, and he volunteered to do this. And it wasn't part of his Eagle Scout project, but he volunteered to get it done. And I'm sure it's because he didn't want to hand water plants for the rest of his life. So I think it's also because he's a really good guy. So he invited all his friends. These are all the guys, and I wish my pictures were there. I don't know what happened to them. But they were all worked on this project, right, guys? And it took them about, they fixed one home, the sprinklers in the one home that weren't working, and we had a lot of good luck with that landowner because the renters there kept turning the sprinkler system off. So that landowner went in there and locked the box so it will never be turned off again, and that whole property has turned beautiful green. And then the other property is a rental property, and there's a man who's invalid living in there right now, so he can't do much yard work, but it's green. And we're really excited about that with all the new plants. And I will send you pictures of these projects. But they did a really good job. They got it done in 3 weeks, and we're really proud of you. So what I did, I wanted to do something special for you guys. So there's this Hypno Hick. He's a hypnotist, and he's a cowboy, and he's very funny, and he's coming to the Covey Center. So I got you tickets. I thought you'd all like to sit together and laugh and see this hypnotist. You can pass these out, Marley, and to each of you. But I thought you'd enjoy going to that all together. It's in a couple of Fridays in September. I forget which date it is. It's on there. Anyway, the council would like to thank you and take a picture with you. So why don't you come on up and shake their hands? And we really appreciate what you did for the city. Thank you so much. You want to take a picture up here with them all together? Come on up. I'm sorry, what? Can you please join us? Oh, me? Oh, thank you. I've never been in a picture before. Thank you so much.
Paul Dearden, who is the manager of the Covey Center for the Arts, is with us to talk about an upcoming attraction there. I believe he has copies of a brochure that will be available to any who are interested in. At the centerpiece is a remarkable timeline that no doubt you'll find delightful and informative. Mr. Dearden.
Thank you once again. Paul Durden, General Manager of the Covey Center. We have a show that's going on at the Covey Center right now called A Night on Broadway. It's a Broadway review. It opened last night. It runs all of this week, and it runs for the next 3 weekends after that. We invite all of you to come. After you hear these two performers, if you don't come, you'll know exactly what you're missing out on. We've invited Anna Reneker and Preston Yates to each give us a piece, so I will turn it over to them.
My goodness. Yeah. Ms. Reniker, Mr. Yates, we're indebted to you. That was magnificent. Thank you. Mr. Dearden, well done. Thank you. Now a presentation by Gary Bushman, who is the Provo City Director of Human Resources, from the Utah Council of Worksite Health Promotion 2014 Healthy Worksite Award.
Thank you, Chairman Miller. I have with me Becky Graham, who's our wellness coordinator for the city and responsible for a lot of the programs, in fact, for the execution of the programs and coming up with the ideas. But this recognition the city recently received is from Utah Council for Worksite Health Promotion, and it recognizes companies and cities, counties, agencies that promote wellness for their employees. It shows to prove beneficial to improve the quality of life, increase productivity, and helps to reduce the costs, medical costs for the city and employees. And our program has many of the features they're looking for. We have a budget that the council has supported, the administration has supported, that allows us to provide incentives for employees to participate. We have programs with counseling. We have health risk assessments. Some of the programs that we've had recently that Becky and her team of wellness, we have a wellness champions committee that's comprised of other employees from other departments. And this past year they put together a holiday way out. If they can maintain their weight through the holidays where it's so easy to put on that weight, we give them an incentive. Becky has restarted our Weight Watchers program in the city. In the first group that went through, they lost over 500 pounds. It was very successful, and that has that's now an ongoing program with the city. We're in the middle of a 5-a-day program, encouraging employees to eat 5 vegetables or 5 fruits every day to change their lifestyle. Earlier this year, we had a 5K race for employees. We hold wellness screenings where they come and have different tests performed and maybe know when they need to see their doctors and get some things checked out. We do health risk assessments for employees to get a better feel for their conditions, and we provide incentives for preventative exams. If they'll just go to the doctor and get that preventative exam that's covered with our health insurance plan at no cost, and helps us catch things early on. Plus, with the new rec center, it's opened up the door for the opportunity for employees to use that and take advantage of the classes up there. But we appreciate the support, and Becky has the plaque that's been awarded. If you ever come in the HR department, you'll see a whole wall of these plaques over 15 years of achieving this, and we appreciate the support of the administration to this end. Thank you.
Congratulations. We have looked forward to a further presentation, this regarding the Provo City Farmers Market. Kevin Garver, who is a neighborhood chair and also chairs the board of the Provo City Farmers Market, is here to make the presentation.
Thank you. Mr. Miller and council members, Deputy Mayor Norman, and Mr. Parker and staff, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity again to share another reason I love living here in Provo, the Provo Farmers Market. The Provo Farmers Market brings on average 1,500 visitors to downtown Provo every Saturday from June until October. The market is held in the beautiful Pioneer Park, starting bright and early at 9 a.m. and runs until 2 in the afternoon. The Farmers Market Board would like to compliment the efforts of the city and its Parks Department on how well they maintain the Provo Park, the Pioneer Park. We received many compliments from patrons and vendors alike on how inviting and lush the park really is. Our mission statement states that the market is a community-based organization and provides a venue located in the beautiful downtown Provo Pioneer Park for neighbors, civic and nonprofit organizations to meet and mingle and become informed about local community, social, and political issues. The market is a place where friends meet friends and neighbors meet neighbors. We've asked our vendors to set up 5 feet off the sidewalk for the very reason that it's not uncommon for friends and neighbors to stop and chat right in the middle of the market, right in the middle of the sidewalk. We love to encourage this type of community spirit, and this year the market has also partnered with Velour to create the Velour stage. Local musical talent is invited to perform from 11 to 1. I think we should invite our singers. For those who come to the market and stay for lunch. This provides a reason for families, friends, and young people, mostly on dates, although they call it hanging out these days, to stay and enjoy good food and entertainment. As a market, we've worked hard to have local farmers bring the freshest fruits and vegetables and make them available to the public. We have more farmers this year than we have had in the past 4 years. This year, we've qualified to provide SNAP benefits to authorized SNAP recipients. SNAP is a federal program that offers nutrition assistance to millions of eligible low-income individuals and families. Owners of SNAP or Horizon debit cards can now come to the market and exchange their SNAP dollars for market dollars to spend on fresh produce. Last week, we had over 175 SNAP dollars spent at the market, and each week that number grows. Several weeks ago, we had a family come and purchase several boxes of apricots with their SNAP dollars. They intended to go home and transform the apricots into jelly. These opportunities can provide memorable moments for families and children. Our mission statement further states, the market encourages small local entrepreneurs in the areas of homemade crafts, food artisans, artists, and musicians. Tonight,
we would like to present you with some sample items that in a small way represent what is sold at our market. Before I present these samples, I would like to share a little about the vendors that have created these items for you. You are receiving a bar of handmade soap from Sago Lily Soaps. Brent and Katrina Kimball from Spanish Fork started vending at the market last year. At the end of the season, Katrina was approached by a managing director for a local senior center to provide soaps for their residents. This contract has started the process of allowing Katrina to provide extra income by making soap full-time. The end goal is to allow her to quit her day job and work from home alongside her family. Also, this year, Katrina entered a worldwide contest where she hand-piped soap designs on a bar of her soap. She finished a close second, just behind a soap maker out of Japan. Next, you'll receive a hand-carved wooden spoon carved by John Dredge. Each spoon is unique and has a delicate flower design burned into the handle. John has been carving since a boy, and the market gives him both a social and a creative outlet. Several of the other vendors' children have adopted John as their grandpa and spend time sharing their thoughts and feelings with him. Dan Jackman, the owner of Cedar Valley Honey, sells raw local honey harvested right here in Utah Valley. When Dan is not checking on his bees, he's checking on the general authorities of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints as one of their bodyguards. More than being a beekeeper and honey vendor, Dan is a dad and a grandpa and brings one of his children along with his grandchild to the market each week. We've included honey sticks from Cedar Valley Honey for you to enjoy. Macaroons are all the rage, and we have the best at our market. Erin Rupp of Dolce Bella by Erin has been selling her French-inspired macaroons at our market for 3 years. Erin is a Le Cordon Bleu trained pastry chef who specializes in fine desserts, cookies, and cake decorating. The market has allowed her to establish quite the following. There's quite a ruckus online if, for whatever reason, Erin announces that she is unable to make it to the market. If you want a macaroon from Erin, you best get to the market early. There's not been a week this year that she's not sold out. Finally, we're giving you an apple from Riley Farms. William Riley followed his dream to become a farmer and started farming in Payson after World War II. 3 generations later, the Rileys are still following that dream and have sold their fresh fruits and vegetables at the farmers market as long as the market has been around. This year, Matt brings a vintage fruit press to the market and presses apple juice right before your eyes. You can't get any fresher than that. Finally, the Provo Farmers Market Board would like to thank the city for their sponsorship of the market. Your sponsorship has allowed us to create a new website, create and air our first radio commercial, and create an animated 30-second commercial that we can use on YouTube, Facebook, and other social media sites. This animation, by the way, was created by one of our vendors. The partnership between the City of Provo and the Provo Farmers Market has provided a gathering place to show off our beautiful downtown to 1,500 patrons each week, provides new startup entrepreneurs a place to test and to try ingenious and creative ideas, and provide the freshest fruit and vegetable to all individuals, no matter what their circumstances. Mr. Parker, I would like to personally thank you for helping the Provo Farmers Market find its feet and to allow the market the wings and the air to fly on its own. Thanks for believing that we could, and I'm happy to report that we are. Thank you. May I ask my wife to help pass out your samples?
Mr. Garber, our heartfelt thanks to you and to the board
It is.
for bringing the dream to
A passion.
reality.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I have my wife pass out the samples?
By all means.
Okay.
Kevin, how many vendors each week do you have at the
80.
market? 80 vendors.
80 vendors each week. Yeah.
So you wrap around the south and the west sides of the park there.
That's
then.
correct. That's right.
Great.
And it's very nice.
Look forward to joining you there.
And
Thanks.
Mrs. Santiago, we will save yours and give that to you. Maybe I'll give it to Louise so she can give it to you.
Thank you. That's very nice of you.
Thank you, Kevin.
Good job. It was a splendid report, and thank you for the visual aids. The public comment segment of this meeting is an opportunity for any person in attendance to comment on matters that do not appear on the official agenda. Should you wish to make a comment at the podium, please speak into the microphone and begin by stating your name and city of residence. Should you not wish to speak, but instead have your statement read aloud by the recorder, Janine Weiss, please provide her with a copy of that statement. Those who speak should do so courteously and briefly. Please be aware that the council and administration will not take any formal action on the matters that arise during public comment, but they may respond informally as appropriate. Also, please be aware of other means for addressing the council and administration directly regarding issues of concern by email, telephone, and social media, all of which are listed at the Provo City website, provo.org. Many issues may also be addressed directly by telephoning 311. Those with comments are invited to approach the podium.
I'm Scott Roberts, and I live here in Provo City. And my father and I own some land in the area that involves the West Side Connector, as this gentleman spoke earlier. I wasn't here necessarily to comment on that, but brought the scouts down for a meeting. And seeing as we've been involved in that process and we finished our deal and did all that, we feel the same. It was handled very poorly. The land values were ridiculous, to say the least. And then when we ended up settling, you ended up spending around 20% of that on attorney's fees in the process that dragged that out. So as far as that goes, as city council, I understand your involvement. We did finally go to arbitration. The city engineering department, which we're a general contractor here in Provo as well. We deal with them all the time. Dealt with the engineering department. Just felt like the whole thing was handled very poorly. So I just wanted to echo his comments and state that for the record. So.
Thank you.
Members of the City Council, Mr. Parker, my name is Gerald Mamet. A lot of you know who I am personally. I'm coming here to personally announce I got my teeth put in, my dear City Council. Now you all can understand me when I talk to you on the phone. So I wanted to come down and make this personal appearance and tell you all about this.
Thank you. Are there others who wish to speak? We turn to Gary Bushman once again for a pair of items. The first, a discussion on a resolution approving and adopting a restatement of the health reimbursement arrangement plan.
The health reimbursement arrangement, or known as the HRA in the city, is a plan that allows employees to have money tax-free into a health reimbursement account that they can draw from to pay medical expenses. And the plan restatement is necessary at this time because as the city moved to our new plan design this current year, we've gone into a private exchange, Mercer Market Exchange. We made a number of changes to the plan and moved more fully to health savings accounts instead of HRAs. And those provide many more benefits for employees than the HRAs. It allows the employee to set aside money for future use where the HRA was only employer money. And this restatement is necessary this time because part of the plan was to terminate the HRA plan by the end of this calendar year, December 31st. And so we need to revise the plan to provide that language to terminate the plan and provide a distribution of those remaining funds to the employees. And so what will happen is the employees will have an opportunity to use up any remaining funds they do have currently in that account by submitting eligible claims. And then if they do not have any claims, then the money will be distributed to them at the end of the calendar year. I believe you were given a copy. Are there any questions about the HRA that I could address? I may mention that has been reviewed by outside consultant, their legal firm, our legal counsel, and myself, and believe that it is a good document.
Can you tell us whether there was a period of time in which city employees were invited to comment on this change?
We've discussed the change with them when we do employee meetings prior to the open enrollment period. Actually, even before that, we had what we called huddle groups in the city, part of our Speed of Trust initiative. And we had two groups that worked on helping us to look at the design plan for the coming year. And they gave their input, and then we took that feedback and the new plan design out to the employees to educate them about their open enrollment opportunities. And this affects not only some of our current employees, but some of our former employees that vested and have money out there. But in general, they see the value of the HSA opportunity over the HRA. Their main concern was they weren't going to lose the money, and we provided ways for them to not do that.
Thank you. I invite a motion to approve the resolution and to adopt a restatement of the Provo City Cafeteria Plan.
Oh, excuse me, that was you had mentioned the HRA plan, and so I had presented the HRA plan first, which I believe is actually the next one.
The item number 6.
Yes.
You had mentioned the first one.
Yes.
So I didn't want to get cross-purpose with your voting.
Thank you for calling that to my attention.
So this is item number 6. Is that?
Yes.
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 So I would like to make that motion that we approve the resolution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Winterton. A second? Mr. Sewell? All in favor, please indicate. Ms. Santiago?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously. Mr. Bushman, would you mind if we insert item 7 before moving to the final item that you're here prepared to talk to? Would that be all right?
You want me to come back?
If you don't mind. I trust it won't be long, but we want to turn to a public hearing on an ordinance amending section 15.04.030, minimum acreage requirements of the Provo City Code to reduce or eliminate the minimum acreage requirement for a subdivision, which currently may not be less than 3 acres, unless the Planning Commission determines the area is an infill area and cannot reasonably be combined with adjacent properties. Mr. Maxfield. Brian Maxfield is Planning Supervisor in Community Development and is here to.
Thank you. This item was continued from the previous meeting. There was some concern on the wording that we were covering all aspects of what a concept plan would require and to the extent this would apply. And this has been rewritten would be the term. And to cover those items, we feel comfortable with the current wording and would ask your consideration for that.
Thank you. Any comments or recommendations from members of the council? Mr. Sewell?
My understanding is that our staff has been working hard to clarify the language this week and that those clarifications have continued up until yesterday and today. And given that changes were made as late as today, I would like to recommend that we continue for 2 weeks so that the public has time to see what we're proposing.
And that is your motion?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion to that.
Is there a second? Mr. Garrett, thank you. All in favor, please. I beg your pardon. Mr. Van Buren.
Aye.
I'm not sure if the applicant has been kept up to date as we have on, and so I just like to ask maybe Matt or someone to bring him up to date on what we're doing and why we're doing it, so he understands.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, you will do so privately?
Yes.
Thank you. Is that satisfactory, Mr. Van Buren?
Unless you'd like me to do it now. Did I misunderstand your request?
More to our conversation a little bit, just so.
Yes. Would you like me to get with him privately or respond publicly now?
It probably doesn't matter.
I'd be happy to meet with him after the meeting.
Fine. Thank you. Any other comments or observations? And I invite a vote on the motion that was made. And Ms. Santiago, we heard your aye, so the motion passes unanimously. Thank you. Now, Mr. Bushman.
My response was aye.
Thank you. Discussion of the resolution approving and adopting a restatement of the Provo City Cafeteria Plan.
For those that don't know, the cafeteria plan is it's known as a 125C cafeteria plan, and that's named after the IRS code that governs this. And it's a plan whereby an employer can provide benefits to employees at a tax-free basis. It allows the employees to also participate tax-free as well. And our plan was last updated in 2008, and since that time there's been a number of changes in federal law, some with the Affordable Health Care Act that we are implementing now, and then also with some of the changes as we've moved to the Mercer Market Exchange, the private health exchange, that require us to update the plan. We've added some plans and changed what our default plan is for people that don't make an election. The plans provide more choices. We've also changed some vendors that administer our COBRA program and also our health savings accounts for employees. And there's a few other minor housekeeping changes to the document to keep it compliant with how we operate and with the requirements of the IRS. And so that's the purpose of the restatement at this time.
Questions or comments?
Just a comment. I come into Provo and I see a billboard that says, I know they roll the numbers and it stops on, I think it's 93,000 or something like, I can't even remember the outrageous number. That's the number of pages in the United States Income Tax Code or something. I think personally, I would rather deal with that code than deal with what you have to deal with in the healthcare situation. And I am grateful for all that you do for our employees, for the people in helping us decipher some of these challenging issues with health care. It's one of the most important things I think that people face in their lives. And I appreciate all you do in your office and in making it as simple as possible. You're doing an impossible job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you. I would like to give a lot of credit to Dana Aders here, who deals face-to-face with the employees on holding their hand on helping navigate this. It's a full-time, challenging job.
Ms. Aders, we're grateful that you are here. Would you care to add anything? Thank you, Mr. Bushman. I invite a motion then to approve the resolution adopting a restatement of the Provo City Cafeteria Plan.
I make a motion to approve the resolution.
Mr. Garrett, thank you. A second. Mr. Winterton, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The motion passes unanimously with Mr. Van Buren excused. I now invite a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. A second.
So moved.
Mr. Winterton, splendid. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Thank you. Again, unanimous with Mr. Van Buren excused.